Hi, everyone. I'm Denise O'Malley, the founder of You Define Wellness, and welcome to a special edition of our Apple a Day webinar series. Now, just as a reminder, these webinars that we're doing, they are to help you attain wellness in your business, your body, and your life. And I paused on that because I wasn't quite sure exactly how I wanted to describe it, but they're amazing webinars that help you move to the next level. So today we're going to do a special webinar with our good friend Inayet Hadi. And Inayet and I just met recently, and he intrigued me about his specialty, which is Google AdWords. And so welcome, Inayet. I am so glad to have you with me today and to eliminate my confusion.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It is a pleasure to be on this webinar with you.
Oh, so glad that you could do this on a Saturday. And for those of you who are on the call with us, feel free to put questions in the chat box. I am going to mute you only because we don't want to have any chatter going on right now. But if you could just go ahead and put any questions you have as we go forward. And the way we're going to do it today is Inayet has a short presentation about what Google AdWords is all about. And then we're going to have opportunities for questions and answers. And just to warn you, Inayet, sometimes I jump in the middle of a presentation to ask a question that's on my mind.
That's great. That's the way I like it because I thrive on questions. So to tailor it to what you need.
Absolutely. Thank you. And so the stage is yours.
Okay. And I'll share the screen. Okay. So can you guys see? Okay,
I can see
awesome.
it. Thank you.
Okay, great. So my name is Inayet Hadi. I'm a Google AdWords certified partner. And my company is called AdWords Management with Results. And today we're going to be talking about why your business should be using AdWords.
Awesome. I have to ask you, are you going to, oh, yeah, never mind. You answered it right there. Question number one, what is it? Because I want to know what it is.
Okay. So table of contents. So we're going to discuss, what is Google AdWords in very broad overview, why you should use it, the benefits of Google AdWords, how to get started. We have it's a 6-minute case study that I've done, but of course we might not be able to see all of it. And then, most importantly, the questions and answers. So I'll try to get through this as quickly as possible so we can get to the questions and answers. And I would appreciate questions along the way.
Okay, I'll monitor
make this more interesting.
I'll monitor the chat box.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to go to the next. Okay, so the first, what is AdWords? It's a platform offered by Google for businesses to display their ads on Google.com and other properties. So if you go to Google.com and you enter in a particular phrase, you usually get 3 to 4 ads at the top and then 3 to 4 ads at the bottom of the results page. And the cool thing about AdWords, it enables you as a business owner to, set your own budget. You pay only for when people click the ads, go to your website. And the ad service is largely focused on keywords and linking that to your ad group, ad copy, and your landing page. Okay. Any questions?
I got a few forming, but let's keep going on.
Okay, great. Now, why you should use AdWords. So 4 out of 5 people in the U.S. Use Google AdWords. There's a lot of searches that are happening in the U.S. alone. And 45% people can't really tell the difference between organic and paid ads because Google eliminated the right-hand column where you used to be able to have ads there. Now that's not there. It's all on a single column. And, I do this for my own self. If I need something, I only click on those ads if I know I'm going to buy something. I'm seriously interested. Now, I know that it costs those businesses to click, so I don't click unless I know, hey, I have a genuine intention to buy something or research it more to buying something.
So I have a
But
curiosity
yeah,
question here.
yes,
I see those, and it'll say ad, which I know that they're having to pay if I
uh,
click that one. And then right below it is their own business that doesn't have ad. Just a curiosity question here. Has there been any research that shows, people clicking the ad one versus the non-ad one in terms of, I really don't know how to say it, but just kind of like, well, yeah, I know it's going to cost them. I'm going to make them pay for it. Is there any, it's a fear for me as a business owner.
very, very good question. It's called click fraud. Google
Oh,
has their own, Google has their own algorithm to try to limit that. Now, I use another service called Improvely to, to take that to a whole nother level. So if I can say if a person from the same IP address clicks my ads twice in a 24-hour period, or I can say 3 times, 4 times, whatever, that I want them to see a special message, and you can tailor that message to let that person know, hey, you've been clicking our ad. If you're interested, please bookmark our website or call us right now, to let them know that you're aware. And if there are your competitors, they might think twice about clicking your ad again. And unfortunately, there are people who, are like that. And thank God there are tools available to help us prevent those types of people from doing that damage by just clicking on ads so you will spend money.
great. Thank you.
My pleasure. Okay, so the benefits of Google AdWords. The cool thing is that on Google.com, the Google search platform is where I specialize in. The reason that I specialize in that area is you can tailor your ad for people looking for your service. So if, for instance, I'll use the limo industry, okay? So if you have a limo, luxury, sedans, vehicles, you don't want people who are looking for taxis, or buses, or vans, or shuttles. And you can actually negate those types of searches from having your ad being displayed to them. So if someone types in, taxi to the airport, and you're like, well, I don't want to compete with the taxis, you can put the negative keyword taxi, and so your ad won't be shown to that user. Now, it has a measurable ROI. So we use a third-party tracking software that allows us to track the calls and the online forms. So each month we know how much our clients spent, how many calls they got, how many online forms were filled out. Now, if you're doing this by yourself without the integration of those third-party softwares, you kind of know intuitively. You can log in and say, we've spent X amount of money on Google, and these are the calls that I got, or these are the forms that I filled out. And so Google only charges you when someone actually clicks your ad. Now, depending upon how well structured your ad account is, you can literally, Google does not really care if you spend $1 million with them and you make 0. It's not their concern. They're just looking at, hey, 500,000 people clicked on your ad for $2 a click, for example. We want our money. They don't care if those clicks, if they were targeted, because you have to do that on your own end. To target your ads to the right people and the right audience. And if you don't do that and just random people, there's 34 billion people that search, and if you don't set up your ad correctly, your ad might be just shown to random people. And if they're clicking on it, you're going to spend that money quite quickly. Now, conversely, Google does not care if you spend $10 with them and you make $1 million. It's not their concern. They're only looking at when they only charge you when someone clicks your ad. Now, what happens? They're not interested. And that's where we try to, make sure that constantly working on AdWords account that you're getting targeted customers coming to your website. And it's faster and more predictable than search engine optimization. That's what SEO stands for. And essentially, SEO, it's a long-term gain, and you have to do it consistently. And so there is benefits in there to doing SEO, but it's a long-term gain. You cannot expect, your website to appear on the first page overnight. Whereas with Google AdWords, if you set up your campaigns correctly, you can have your ads and your website appearing on the first page, the first day that you launch your campaign, or the second day, once it's optimized. Okay. So next slide. Getting started. Getting started with Google AdWords is amazingly easy. Okay, it's like I like to think of it like chess. Chess is easy to learn. How the various different pieces move. Right.
Right.
It's like you can learn it in an hour if you've never played it. It's like, hey, the queen has the ability to go anywhere in any direction, the king, and the knight. But then to master it is a completely, it can take you years and decades to get really, really good. So Google AdWords, it's the same way. They've made it simply easy to get started. One thing I want to tell folks who are with us online and those who might be watching in the future, whatever you do, do not set up your account as AdWords Express. You're damaging your future ability to use all the resources that Google AdWords has.
What is that? What is it, AdWords Express?
So AdWords Express is a version of AdWords that's very condensed. It's very limiting. It doesn't. You can't use those third-party integrations to get your calls tracked, and it's just generally overall, yes, it's easy to set up and you think you're getting, benefits from it, but it's the worst case. I would just tell anybody, do not do it.
Okay.
Go with the full version. Yes, the full version might seem more intimidating at first, and it really isn't if you're just getting into it. But do that, because you'll have, you'll set yourself up for success as Google expands and renews with different types of features.
Okay.
I don't have that in here, but I just wanted to make that statement.
Okay,
so essentially, you want to, you need a Gmail user account. Before you start, like let's say once you've created your account and you want to create your campaigns, right? You need to know what's the purpose of your campaigns. Do you want calls? Do you want forms filled out? Do you want just people to read your content? Do you want people to you need to really have a purpose of why you're building this campaign. If that's not clear, it doesn't matter who you hire. They're not going to be able to do anything with it, because if you don't know the purpose of what you're trying to achieve with Google AdWords. So that has to be crystal clear and work backwards. Then once you know what your purpose of your campaign is, you need to research the keywords that are relevant for that campaign. And you don't need to be exhaustive, because Google has tools to help you come up with different variants of those keywords that you're thinking of, and even keywords that you never thought of but are related to your campaign. So the way Google AdWords works is you have your campaigns, and then those campaigns are structured into ad groups, and each ad group will have the good rule of thumb is for each ad group to have a couple ad copies, and those ad copies is what you see when you enter in a phrase, a keyword in Google. So where it says ad at the upper left corner of it, that's called ad copies. And the reason you want to have 2 or 3 ad copies per ad group is so that way you can do A/B, variable testing to see which ad performed the best in converting. And then you want to work on that. And you usually want to do that, every 3 to 5 weeks. To look at the data, see what's working, how you can improve it. And if they're performing well, don't touch it. Because if your ad is performing really well in terms of giving you the calls or the online forms, don't mess with it. And if you want to try something new, create a new ad group. It's better to test with a new ad group than to try to mess with one that's already working really well. And then, you set, you need to have a budget, how much you want to spend. The thing with the budget is if you set up your account correctly, like for some of my clients, I have a budget of $300 a day, but they probably don't even use $60, $70 in that day, because it's tightly organized and built so that it's the waste. It's not just giving irrelevant clicks or, from people who are not interested in our clients' services. The reason for that high budget is we want our ads to be shown to the most people possible in that day. Now, the most important thing is, let's just say you created the perfect AdWords campaign, right? It's like everything. If I take a look at it and I'm like, wow, this AdWord campaign, there's nothing I can do to this. This is perfect, right? Well, or if I create like the best campaign and I hand it over, if you don't do step E, which is optimize, it doesn't matter how great that AdWords account, campaign, and ad groups and ad copies are structured if you do not continuously optimize it. And there's various ways that you can optimize it, whether it's going into the keywords, ad copies, the ad group settings or the campaign settings or the ad extensions. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do to optimize your campaign continuously. And if you don't do that, it's going to go downhill in performance. So that is really important. And I'm sure it's true in every other business. You have to continuously improve, right? You just can't reach the top and be like, I'm here, and just relax. And if you do that with AdWords, you're going downhill.
Okay, so can I jump in with a question?
Yes.
I know most of my network who sees these videos are wellness professionals, small wellness professionals, massage therapists, chiropractor. They have a very small business, and this intrigues them. But that number that you said, $300 a day, is going to make a lot of people run to the hills, kind of crazy. So even though, as you said, this particular client was spending $60 or $70 a day, which that number alone could scare off a lot of people. So thinking of this small entrepreneurial, let's say, massage therapy practice that is, really only wanting to attract people in their particular neighborhood, what is a realistic budget amount for somebody who's watching their pennies?
So, I've had experiences in other industries, and of course, every industry and every market is really different, right? And AdWords is one of those platforms that it's a bidding game. You're really bidding with other providers out there. Now, if your market is not as hot, right, you don't have to expect to pay a lot. Now, having said that, it all comes down to how your account is structured. And that can depend upon, how much you spend, right, in each day. Now, coming back to your question, if someone wants to know, okay, I spend X amount of budget each day. What can I get in return? And I think that has to be, their goal is I'm spending X amount. What do I want? What do I want in return? And that's how they should value it. So, for example, if they spend $1,000 a month on Google AdWords, right? They need to have an expectation what that $1,000 generates them. whether is it 2,000, 3,000, one to two, which would be 2,000, one to three, $3,000, and then go from that and like work backwards. In a sense, like don't look at the front end cost. Look at what you want out of this, because if you're not getting your return, like what do you think a good return for? Because every industry is different, and I'm not too familiar with the wellness professional industry.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they have to think about is, okay, I spend $1 at the end of the month. What do I want in return?
Okay, so I'm going to jump in here. So would you recommend that, I'm going to use this massage therapist as an example, and that's mostly because I'm married to a massage therapist. So let's say my husband were to decide that he wants to do this for a month and sets a budget of, say, $500. Mm-hmm. Is a month a realistic time frame, or should he be willing to commit to maybe 2 months or 3 months and know that this is an experiment, because he doesn't know what the return is going to be, but he knows he wants to make at least 2 times the amount that he's investing in it, that as his benchmark. So is that a strategy that you would think that would work for someone just starting out with Google AdWords?
I would say that you need at least 2 months to to optimize and make sure everything's working, because that first month you're building it out, you're testing it, you're looking at the results, you're seeing where you can improve, and where you need to make improvements, and then letting that run and seeing, if it gets results. Now, one of the key indicator that I have that I did not mention is the website, is the landing page, because that's so critically important.
Yeah.
And the analogy that I like to use is someone's looking for shoes, for example. Okay, they're looking for a very particular type of shoe. They want that shoe. They're ready to buy that shoe, and they walk into a store, and that store somewhere has the exact shoe that person that just walked in needs. It's 100% match. This is what they're looking for. This store has it. But that store, as soon as they walk in, there's rats, everywhere. Yeah. And it smells really bad. That person is going to walk out, even though the shoe that is in that store. So even if you set up your campaigns correctly and you're getting targeted audience coming in, but if the website doesn't welcome them, doesn't project that trustworthiness, they're going to just bounce and leave.
And that's a really good point. So I've got 2 more questions in this vein. Sorry. But, hey, when they come to me, I got to ask them. So is there a dollar amount that is too low to start with on a monthly basis?
Well, every industry is different, okay? Every industry is different. And, like some of my clients are in the limo industry, okay? And if you're in the limo industry, I will tell you, if you're not ready to spend at least $1,500 on AdWords alone, find another platform, because it's not going to help you.
Wow.
Okay. Now I have a windshield replacement company. Mm-hmm. They're spending a month between $3,000 to $5,000. Mm-hmm. Their whole philosophy is, hey, let's spend money as long as we're profitable. Mm-hmm. They have a different approach to it, right? Mm-hmm. Now, wellness professionals, they need to look at, okay, so if they get a client, what's their lifetime value to them, right? Mm-hmm. And saying, well, how much are they willing to spend for that one client? Okay,
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so this actually brings me to the next question that I had. Mm-hmm. You said bidding. So, for instance, massage therapy. When you put Google massage therapy near me, you're going to get Massage Envy, you're going to get Elements Massage, and maybe a couple of small ones. So if, let's say my husband, again, decides that he wants to do Google AdWords, he's bidding against them for the rate that he's going to pay per click?
Depending upon which position he wants. So yeah, and then also how well so let's just say Massage Envy, their account is not really well structured. They didn't put a lot of thought into it. They might pay a click.
Just for instance, just issue from Massage Envy. We're just using an example. Sorry.
Yeah, and we don't know if your account is well structured or not, but we're going to assume that it's not. And if your account is well structured and well built out, and your landing pages all work, and they might pay, for example, $3 for a click below you. You might spend $1.50. So it's not a true bidding game. Yes, it's bidding, but Google also looks at the quality of your AdWords account and your landing page.
Okay.
So it takes that into its algorithm, and it's called AdRank.
Wow, this is just really confusing, and so glad you're an expert in it. Okay.
And so we will, and I love these questions. So please, if you think of any more, ask them, because it makes this presentation a lot more fun.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So this is one of our clients called Super Low Price Adwords that I was telling you about, where they spend $3,000 to $5,000, and in this month it was just over $3,000. So this is the data from March 1st, March 31st of this year. And they also do Bing ads, but you can see it's like $348 versus $3,300. And so the total cost is $3,700 almost, right?
Okay.
But then the benefits, they got 213 calls and 79 forms. Now, so 292 when you combine those. But genuine leads is that based upon historical analysis that I did a few years ago, where I actually listened to all the calls and try to see which one is a genuine and which one is just a marketing. And genuine calls and leads are people calling or filling in an online form, asking for a quote or making an appointment.
Okay.
It's up to them to make the appointment, right? Now, 2 out of 10 calls are just spammers, telemarketers, and we can block them. Like if they let us know, hey, this call is a marketer, because they get an email after each call. Someone calls them, they get an email letting them know of that. And if it's a marketer, they just email us and say, hey, this is a marketer, and we just block them. So if they try to call again, they hear a message, saying this number is out of order. You've reached the wrong number.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, would it be okay if I play this video? And then I know it's 6 minutes long, but I just essentially go over, I show the months range, the AdWords spend, and where they got the calls and the forms. So it's these numbers. I'm not just picking them randomly. These are numbers based upon, the tracking tools that we use, the actual calls, the actual forms that people filled out.
Would you be offended if I said, let's bypass it? Because I'm afraid that,
no problem. Yeah.
If you could put a link in, or give me the link to it, and we'll post it along with the video so that people can have that on their own. Does that work for you?
Yeah, no, definitely. And if you just copy this, and I'll copy this, and let's see.
Well, if they were to Google those words, it would come up automatically, wouldn't it?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go to the next slide, and that's it.
Oh, awesome, awesome. So this brings up a lot of great ideas that I know a lot of the people who are watching this video are going to be able to utilize. So let me, while we're waiting for questions that might come through, I've got a couple of them. So this is way too confusing. I don't want to do it myself. So I would want to contact you and work with you. And I guess the question I have to ask is, how do you get paid? I mean, I could do this on my own without you, but how do you do it for me?
Yeah, so I get paid monthly, management fee, and I also do a one-time build offer, but I do that very hesitantly unless that person knows how to optimize and continuously work on it. Once I build that product for them, and if they do not know what they're doing, I'll just say, look, you're just wasting your money. Because I can build you a really nice account that's functional, that's workable, but if you don't consistently go in there at least every couple of weeks to see what's going on, I mean, that's at least minimum, to go in there, log in, look at all the various different, features and seeing how they're set up and make sure they're working. Because Google is constantly introducing and changing, their AdWords experience.
Okay.
So my goal is mostly on the monthly management.
Okay, so that you're not getting paid a commission from Google AdWords, so they need to take into effect. They're going to have the cost of the advertising with Google AdWords, plus a management consulting fee, building fee with you. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so when somebody comes to you, and let's go back to my massage therapist husband here, and he says, okay, I want to spend $500 a month. Can you work with that number net of what your management consulting fee is, or is that even not going to cover your management consulting fee?
Yeah, so, the $500, like that. So the Google is the amount that you want to spend, right?
Right.
And again, I don't have enough experience to tell you whether $500 is enough for the wellness professionals, because I've not had a wellness professional client. Most of my clients have been in the limo industry and the windshield replacement, right? And so I don't know whether $500 might be enough to generate the demand.
It's just a generic question. So, but what I'm trying to get at is, okay, so the wellness professional has, a set amount of money that they can spend. Can you give us an idea of what your fees are going to be for the initial setup, so they can figure out for budgeting, so there's no surprises?
Yeah, and so, okay, if they decide to work with me, I waive the build-out fee, and it's just, $500 a month. Okay. But if they're like, I just want to build, a couple campaigns, a couple ad groups, specialties, and just build that out. I charge $1,000. The thing is, I do that very hesitantly, because if I build it out and they don't know how to manage it, then it's kind of like, hey, you're wasting your money. Don't do it.
Okay, so the fee for you is roughly $500 a month plus the cost of Google AdWords, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So this has to take you an awful lot of time to do the management of it, the build out of it, all of that. How much time do you need to spend with a particular client when you're getting
in the front end, it's going to be really collaborative and really intense. There's going to be a lot of back and forth communication going forward, because I can do the technical side, but I don't know their business. And so for me to know their business, there has to be a lot of back and forth conversation, whether that's email, phone, video, text, and then constantly, optimizing it for the first few weeks, for the first few months.
Okay.
Making sure that it's delivering results, because that's what we're interested, right? Is people calling, people filling out an online form for your service. And if that's not happening, then, it's what's the point, right? What's the point of spending money? And that's the cool thing about Google AdWords is, if it's working or it's not. We don't have to think about, is it working? Is it not working? We know it's working, or we know it's not working.
So I guess the point of what I was wanting to get to, and this is for everybody
Hmm.
watching the video, is that he invests
Yeah.
an awful lot of time to get it right with you. So he's
Hmm.
actually probably the best deal in town. Yes, you can go do it yourself, but oh man, the headaches and the frustration. So, let's pretend that you've got a new client that has said, "Hey,
Hmm.
I want to sit down and work with you," and where do you start? You said you have to spend some time digging into their business, but kind of what can they expect? Is it face to face? Is it over the phone? Is it like this on a Zoom call? And how much are you needing to work with them, particularly when it's a new industry for you?
Uh, Um, so, the most effective way to communicate from my perspective is email, so we can get that information. Phone, video conferencing, meeting in person to person. If we absolutely need to, we can do it, but it's not really necessary.
Okay.
Now, having said that, we start from the back end, right? We look at where that visitor, our targeted visitor, where we want to send them to, and that's going to be a landing page.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's so critical that the business owner has a good website presence. Because if that's not there, that has to be first taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't do web development. I don't do website design, build. I know how to do it. It's not my expertise, not my forte. So that's very, very important to have a good website presence so that when a person comes to your website, a targeted person comes to your website, they feel comfortable. This is what I'm looking for. This is the business that can help me solve my problem that I'm having. It's a solution to their problem. And
Mm-hmm.
without that, that's the first thing. It's like we cannot go any further if your website is not there. Then working backwards, and then trying to identify, okay, well, what is the purpose of this campaign? What do you want? At the end of the day, what do you want? Do you want calls? Do you want online forums? Do you just want people to know that your company exists, but you don't really care if they pick up the phone or not? Like Coca-Cola.
Mm-hmm.
Coca-Cola and Pepsi, they spend money just so people know what Coca-Cola is.
Mm-hmm.
And in the long term, maybe you'll drink Coca-Cola, right? But most small businesses that I work with, they don't really care about that. They just want people to call them up
Mm-hmm.
and saying, hey, how much? Can you put me in your schedule book? And so they want to have have their issue that they're facing be solved immediately by another person, by another business.
What would be really interesting to do, and I think I'm going to have to spend some time on it to kind of dig into it. I think it would be really interesting to do a comparison, particularly for the wellness professionals, on investing in your business by doing Google AdWords versus something like using Groupon, which is extremely popular in the wellness communities, because everybody's looking to go get a chiropractic appointment, a massage, whatever. But in the Groupon world, you're making nowhere near your full income. So in one, you don't have to invest any money. That's the Groupon, but you're also not getting paid a whole lot versus the Google AdWords and making an investment in it and receiving full retail rates for the work that you do get from those clients. I'm assuming maybe of any, are there any studies out there that has actually looked at that comparison?
I have not. I'm not saying they do not exist. I have not seen them.
Okay. Well, I'm going to play with that a little bit because wellness professionals, when they're independent, typically don't have a lot of cash flow, particularly when they're starting out. It's not something that they're normally getting investors on board with. And so when they're looking to, increase their business exposure by using something like Google AdWords, there's a huge fear and hesitation because you could be paying for something and not get anything out of it whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it's finding that happy balance between the two. Okay, so I'm going to make a note. Awesome. So how long does it take normally when they start working with you before they can get their first ad up?
So usually about a week, 2 weeks.
Okay.
From the moment that we start, and the information that we collect and the building that we do, and before it goes live. So 7 to 14 days.
Okay. That gives me comfort in knowing that you're doing your due diligence and your work on getting it set up. So great. Awesome. I think I'm actually out of questions. What else would you like to add to this?
I will say that Google AdWords, it's not very cheap.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to really think of it from the perspective of what you want on your return, and then judge it by that way.
Mm-hmm.
So for instance, to some person, spending $1 to make $1, so spending $1 to make $2, for example, so that's 1 for 1. So, to them, that's great, right? That's wonderful. For some people, no, they want 1 to 3. So you have to answer that question yourself and saying, hey, if I spend this $1, what do I want gross in return? And whatever that amount is, and of course you can't be unrealistic. I'd met a potential client. He wanted 1 to 40 return. For every $1 he spent, he wants 40. I was like,
yeah, I'd like that too. Can you get it for me?
Yeah, I was like, I would love, I would love that too. But so you can't be it's like you can't have that unexpected, return. I mean, that's just, I don't want to say it's insane, but it's
probably not going to happen.
Not going to happen yet. So you need to be realistic. What do you want your return to be? And then judge it. I ask my clients, hey, don't judge it by day. Don't judge it by week. Judge it in a month. Because when the month is over, you'll know how much you spent on AdWords. We can tell you how many calls you got and forms that were filled out,
mm-hmm.
right? But you need to keep track of those forms and those calls that you got. How many turned into paying customers?
Right.
How many are coming back regular? And then what is your total gross?
Mm-hmm.
And then judge it by that way. So if your idea is, I want to spend, for example, $1 and get $3. So if you spend $1,000, and if you're not making $3,000, maybe you make $2,500, or $2,000, or or just whatever. I mean, that's one thing about me is I don't like to do long-term contracts. Besides the initial, the 2 months, hey, we need 2 months to get this up and running, to make it work. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, if it's not generating money to you, it's like, hey, stop doing it.
Yeah.
Take your money and spend it where it's going to benefit you and your business and your family. That's what I want to do. If I'm in a business relationship, and I'm not benefiting, I don't want to be there just because of some piece of paper.
Mm-hmm.
And I really can't, tell any client what they should expect. Because like I said, some people are happy with 1-to-1 return. Some people will never be happy if they get 1 to 5. If they say I spend $1,000, I want 5,000 plus in business. And of course, every business is set up differently. So that number, really, you have to make that your own determination
mm-hmm.
to say what you're comfortable with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And understanding your business is critical of each person, because, for instance, in my business, I can do it for a month, but the sales may not actually take place for another 90 days, just by the nature of what my business is. You define wellness, because they are decisions made by employers for the benefit of their employees, and so it could be a little bit down the road before those actually come about. So need to be able to have a consistent game plan depending upon whatever the nature of your business is, correct? Not just give it up because, hey, nothing happened. Well, And then, of course, the follow-up afterwards is on each individual person's shoulders to make sure that it was not money wasted, that
Yep.
they're doing something with it. Awesome. I am out of questions. So for those who are watching this, I thank you. Hopefully you found it of benefit. And Inayet, awesome. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
On a Saturday, and
thank you.
Hopefully everybody has found it of interest. And please, his information is still up. Contact him. See if he can help you out, because it's a critical tool for all small business owners. And just knowing how to use it effectively in your business is the key. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us for our Apple a Day webinar. You can check our Facebook page at youdefinewellness.com for upcoming webinars as well. All right, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you, Denise.